Welcome to Stories with Steve, a podcast on the Central Buna Podcast Network. Every Thursday in 5 minutes or less, we'll lift you up with stories of how God works behind the scenes in our lives. Romans 8:28 tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. Now with an encouraging story, here's Steve.
You know, in life, sometimes things don't go the way we expect, right? I guess if you've lived long enough on this earth, you'll find that, starting with childhood, maybe you didn't get the presents you were looking for and things. And then we grow to be adults, and you think we'd learn our lesson, but sometimes we don't. And when things don't go right in our lives, sometimes it's easy to blame things other people. And the problem is a lot of times we'll turn around and blame God, right? When things don't turn out in our lives the way we expect things. And I really feel like a lot of it's our culture we live in. We live in so much of a entitlement society that we expect things to go a certain way, and when they don't, they go, things go south, and we quickly, get angry and want to take it out on somebody. I always blame it on that Murphy guy. It's his fault. It's not mine, right? There was a cartoon, a Ziggy cartoon, if you remember him, a little bitty bald guy, and he had some funny cartoons. And it sounded kind of negative, but it had a good point. He said, expect to be disappointed, and then you won't be disappointed. I thought about that. The reason we get disappointed is we have certain expectations. And I admit in life, I've had so many disappointments, things that I wanted to work out in my life, jobs, relationships, things that didn't turn out. And when they didn't, it really, left me dejected. And because that's just the way life is sometimes, right? And I remember back in college talking about, I had this roommate, and this guy was very zealous, like for the Lord, but he was young, and you know how people are when they're young, they say things. But I remember he had his own, he had his own, quote, evangelistic association or something like that, had a little book with his name. And then one day he tells me, he goes, I do all this stuff for God, and then God never does anything back for me. And I sit there and just, wow, he actually said that. Maybe I should move my bed over in case lightning strikes. But I thought to myself, he said that out loud, but a lot of people feel that way. They get angry at God. I've heard that. And I don't think it's necessarily bad to question things when we don't understand, even the Lord on the cross, question. But I've never shook my face at God. I've just said, God, why? And during those times, the times I really had to lean into him. And I feel like my faith has really been strengthened through it all. And I think about the story of Lazarus, right? Mary and Martha, when they sit for Jesus, and they've seen Jesus do miraculous things. You can do it. Well, how come you chose not to do it this way, Lord? Because I've got a greater purpose in mind. And sometimes I always have to remind myself, right, when things aren't looking the way I want to, when doors shut right in my face, that God's got a plan that maybe I don't understand sometimes like that. So anyway, I wonder if you've ever had those kind of experiences. I'd love to know about it. Remember, you've got a story to tell.